Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And after getting officially benched from the OpTic Texas lineup, Dashy is already coming for revenge pretty hard, playing an 8 series last night, undefeated against the likes of Huke and others that of course are now part of that OpTic team, but also going on to respond to concerns about his work ethic and attitude, and stating he actually does play more Call of Duty than a lot of people seem to believe. Very much enjoy your thoughts down below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, just a quick note here from Saint, just another classic spawn. It doesn't seem like, because we heard the rumors that came out from Doug St. Martin the other day, that the spawns were going to get updated here on January the 9th. I guess today is January the 9th, right? So we'll see if anything happens today. But yeah, the rumor has it that maybe there was going to be some sort of spawn tweaks. Probably not. I mean, I don't know what number 2's doing spawning out here, to be honest, but I guess it happens sometimes. Gets a free pinch on the new hardpoint, so congratulations to all involved. And Clay, I thought was kind of funny, right? He kind of, well, tries to imitate Haggy right here with how Powers like usually responds when there's a crazy spawn, and he pretends he knows exactly why that indeed happened. Just wanted to share a quick clip that I was going to share for you guys last night, but then the OpTic news broke about Huke joining the team, about Dashy of course leaving the team, and Formal goes on to say here that, you know, he's going to miss Brandon, because we know they're good friends, right? And he also says, it's kind of sad to see really, and he also goes on to say at the end that, like, he knew what the team was before it was revealed. Obviously, they were the ones that asked him for advice on this type of stuff, rather than him having to go and ask them.
But I kind of feel bad that the old team is splitting up. But hey, that's just me. I know the players really well, so that's just me. I mean, it is interesting to see like a new roster and stuff, but like I'm gonna miss Brandon a lot. It's my guy. And of course I know the new roster, bro. I'm Formal. What? People come to me and ask me who to team with.
So these guys had such a great relationship, and I'm sure still do, and I think the formula's always seen in Dashy a little bit of himself. I mean, Dashy's just disgusting. We'll see some clips here in a second of him playing these 8 series. Absolutely ridiculous what this guy's able to do, and I'm sure that Formal thinks, you know what, in terms of raw ability, Dashy has never been too far away from Formal in terms of that, but in terms of achievements, right, it's a stark contrast. Formal's won like 30-odd championships in 2 different franchises. Dashy's won 2 over the last 5 years, so there is obviously a difference there to some degree, and most of the players that Dashy has teamed with over the last several years have at some point raised some concerns about, it's not always necessarily work ethic. I wonder if it's like, you know, attitude or maturity or something like this, that, you know, even the Slasher, Kenny, Envoy, and even the most recent team, and even maybe before that at times, there's been some questions raised about Dashy pretty much every single year, regardless of course Crimsix, right, in the Black Ops 4 season as well, pretty much regardless of what numbers he drops. So, you know, there's understandable concerns, but I do think there's a chance that, again, the OpTic bricklaying issues come to return, because we know that over the last several years, the players they drop tend to do rather well afterwards. Even Sender, right, got kind of dropped, or didn't really get dropped, but I think they didn't maybe give him the money he wanted or something. Over on OpTic, he goes to join New York, they win the first event of the season. So look, is Dashy going to win champs this year? It's obviously unlikely, but it would mean the curse would continue if he can actually get on a new team. And I don't think teams are going to be turning Dashy down or anything, but still, the reputation that precedes Dashy is going to affect him to a certain extent, because you know that FaZe, like, they said outright that they were never considering Dashy, which is a bit of a surprise to some, right? People thought that when Dashy was dropped by OpTic in the off-season, the FaZe were like, oh yeah, get Dashy, and wow, that's going to be a stacked team. Apparently they never even considered him. They wanted Shotzzy, then they wanted like a proper leader. So, you know, there's some reasons why, despite Dashy's ability, some teams won't go for him. Some teams will sure give it a go. Like, we know how talented Dashy is. I'm sure that certain teams think, you know what, it's worth the risk just to get Dashy in, because maybe post-OpTic, he becomes kind of a different Dashy in some essence. And obviously last night, the Pro 8s were going on, plays up against Huke at times, and yeah, man, that was for sure some entertainment. And even we can see here, so on the right hand side we've got Dashy's team with Slasher, Standy and Capsidal. On the left hand side, Huke at this point is 25-11. This is one of the good maps Huke had, but on the whole, Dashy was winning everything with this team on the day, and I believe went pretty much undefeated. So I wanted to share a couple of clips for you guys here. Firstly, a little bit from those 8 series where he was absolutely going off. Dashy was trying to already show that he's ready to get revenge at some point, but also Parasite's opinion while he was kind of playing this Challengers Cup on what Dashy should do, and actually suggests at times, don't waste your time here grinding out in Valorant or anything, just picking your nose and waiting for the opportunity. Maybe even go down to Challengers and grind it out. Seems doubtful that Dashy would do that, but you know, I think Parasite's argument to a certain extent, and his opinion here, has some validity.
Hang on, guys. Maybe Bance. Yeah, he's a half wall. Brandon. He's on the solo man. He was laying down right there.
Behind me again, bro. Standy sign.
He's gonna be holding signs.
Still laying down there.
No. God damn it.
Ours goes. Oh, he's just laying down. He's just laying down.
I knew.
He's right here. Just right here, holding us.
What's that time?
I don't know where the guy is.
I don't see the guy on there.
Cap is.
Contract is right now on OpTic. He might, in order to move to another team, take less money and may have to sign a multi-year deal.
Depends where he goes. I think it depends where he goes.
I haven't seen any of you guys bring this up, but I'm gonna keep it $150. If the man is serious about playing COD, this might sound weird to some of you guys, but this game, supposedly, it's a 2-year game. That means most of the stuff that we learn now is gonna transition to next year. If he takes a break, he's trolling. He needs to play the game. And even if he's not playing in the Pro League,
listen, he's still gonna play the game. I don't think that's what Batman's
I'm just saying, don't
saying
join
is,
some bum team just cause.
Well, you're not letting me finish. What I'm saying is he needs to play the game. I don't even care if it's
I agree with you.
It's
100%.
in challengers. Play the game. Find a team, scrim. If you have nothing else to do, go to events. If you're going to sit at home, pick your nose and play Val when you say that you want a team on a 2-year game, you got to play challengers. Like I know it's Dashy, but at the end of the day, 2-year game. You have to play. If you don't play for a year,
yo, one spot, Shotzzy. That's done.
I love it.
I just want to say that.
Wait, what did you say?
I just said spot. I just ironed him and said pistol. I just wanted to say that. Actually slammed.
Yeah.
It's never been worse.
Is this us?
We're actually everything. Like,
As Parasite goes on to say here to clarify, I think if Brandon doesn't get on a team for a while, he can get reps in the pit. So I think it makes sense for Dashy. Don't go down to the Challengers pit already or immediately because his stock is still high, but especially after last season. But if he doesn't get on a team after Major 2, maybe after Major 3, it might be worth it for a while. It's a 2-year game. Reps are key for long-term success, I think is a fair point. Challengers offers a lot of tournament practice, and as a large streamer, it's good content. Didn't mean offensive cause, and I think he makes a fair point as well. And as Dashy goes on to say, last undefeated 8 Reaper standing. So Dashy also goes on to respond here in a second to these concerns about his attitude and other things, because as people say in the reply, now you want to actually try. And this guy says, pretty sure he had the most hours on Modern Warfare 2 by far on an OpTic team. Someone gets it, says Dashy. So, basically saying that indeed he had more hours than the rest of his team, not combined, but you know what I mean. Dashy's basically saying he put more time in the rest of the guys and he still got dropped. So, it's not necessarily, basically what he's saying is it's not a work ethic thing. He's been putting in the time to the game. And I think you can tell by, if you watch the process episodes and stuff, like Dashy does really care. This guy does want to win. He is really passionate about it. You can see it come across in the videos and the way he talks about the vetoes and stuff like this. So I'm not exactly sure what's got Dashy dropped from this team because, again, as I say, OGLA, Slasher and Kenny, even Envoy, right, when it was on, well, the Huntsman team it was then, but then it was OpTic Chicago with Dashy. He talked about kind of just attitude stuff in general. Then in, obviously, the recent game, he was going to get dropped despite having an MVP year in Vanguard. And even we're looking back to Black Ops 4 when Crim6 and TP and Karma weren't so happy with the antics that Dashy was bringing to the team. So every year there's something, and I believe that Rambo was in a similar boat where, again, Dashy and Rambo, whether it was vetoes, whatever it was, they didn't get on so well, and maybe that was one of the reasons why Dashy ends up funding himself out of the team. But there is always seemingly a reason over the last several years why Dashy has gone. He says here that, like, look, it's not a work ethic thing. He's putting in the time, he's grinding the game, but there is a difference as well between grinding the game and actually grinding it in such a way to improve. I mean, like concentrated practice on certain aspects of the game are going to be more beneficial than just playing all the hours. Like, just putting in hours doesn't necessarily translate to improvement in performance if you are practicing and concentrating on the right things. So yeah, what do you guys think the future is for Dashy? I know many have mentioned, like, which teams could he go to in the future. People have talked about Rokkr, maybe. People have talked about Seattle. Like, there's been some other ones that have been brought up as well. Again, I do wonder what the buyout situation is as well, because with Dashy and OpTic, obviously he's on their bench, right? They've now actually got a substitute player. They've brought Huke in. Dashy is there on the bench if ever required to sub in for any moment. We saw what happened. The same thing happened actually 3 years ago in Modern Warfare 2019 on the OGLA team, where he had to sub in at champs because Kenny was getting DDoS because it was online that year. But look, if Dashy does get an offer elsewhere, I think that Hex probably would respect that, right? Just kind of the way it worked with Arcitys a few years ago, where they basically just let him walk to FaZe, which arguably was a very questionable business decision, but nonetheless quite a well-respected one by the community. And I wonder, I would imagine it would be a similar thing with Dashy. If he gets a good offer somewhere, I'm sure they would, be happy to come to terms to let Dashy go somewhere else, rather than be like, no, we're going to stand by this massive buyout that no one's going to pay and keep Dashy trapped for a long time to come. That probably could happen, I suppose, because I guess they, maybe sign new deals, or I'm not exactly sure what Dashy's contract situation is, whether it's up at the end of this season or whether it's not. But yeah, still, I think if another team wants to come along, they'll probably let him go. I think they probably would after his services to OpTic for the last few years. But still, yeah, Dashy not being on OpTic field, it will feel strange. Whatever team he's on, it'll feel weird because he's been there for such a long period of time. And I think understandably here he's trying to protect his reputation to an extent and try and fix his reputation over time. And I wouldn't be surprised if when he does join a new team, like, you know, the fire is under Dashy a little bit differently. But to be fair, we thought the same thing when he got dropped from OpTic in this offseason, right? And he came back, we thought he was going to come diffy. And look, apparently he's put a lot of time in, but that hasn't even really translated even into performance, right? Let alone potential other out-of-game things that might have frustrated Rambo or whoever else on that team decided to finally make the move happen, because it seemed obvious from what Shotzzy said earlier today that a team was necessary, and that change was always going to be Dashy. There was just a no-brainer in terms of what they were deciding to do there. So interesting stuff. Intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. And also, yeah, I thought this is kind of funny, right, with Ronaldo going to the Saudi Arabian League. Dashy, if he played challenges, like, challenges is not full of burgers, right? Like, Dashy's not just going to go down to challenges and draw 1.5 every single series, but he would be, you know, by a margin, one of the most talented players down there if he was to compete in it. I think probably Parasite's right that it's not necessary immediately, but if down the line he wants to get some good reps in and actually just sit there and not just twiddle his thumbs and play Valorant, then maybe it is a necessary move. Now, speaking of OpTic, before we close out the video here, I've got to mention this, which is their qualifiers going into Major 2. How do you guys feel about this if you're OpTic fans? Now, yes, obviously OpTic scrimmed someone last night, had a 6-2 result against them. They were feeling very confident indeed. So seemingly already they're hitting some degree of stride. But nonetheless, these are the 5 matches they play for their qualifiers starting next, well, the first one is on next Sunday, and then they play 2 games per weekend after that going into the major. But their first game is against Boston. That's basically a must win here, to be honest, right? Because they play Surge next, then Toronto, both very challenging teams. I mean, look, if you look at placings for Major 1, they've got, I mean, what, Toronto were 4th, right? FaZe were 3rd, Surge were 2nd. The only team they're not playing in the top 4 on the championship Sunday was the New York Subliners. They're playing Boston, who are not easy to beat, but they should be a beatable team. Vegas as well are, well, look, if they're going to beat OpTic, they're going to probably do it in Game 5, but it's definitely possible because Legion's Search and Destroy has been great so far, and we really have no idea how good the Search and Destroy OpTic is going to be with this new team. So a really tough set of qualifiers here, I think. I mean, Boston and Vegas are not walkover wins by any means, but those are 2 must-wins, I would say, given they will probably be underdogs against all of Seattle, Toronto, and FaZe. Just depends how they go, right? Because if OpTic come out, they destroy Boston, and they beat Surge, all of a sudden it's like, okay, OpTic probably, they can at least take 1 of 2 between Ultra and FaZe. But yeah, nonetheless, it's definitely a difficult set of qualifiers for them to go in for. But I think already the team is feeling more confident than they have done in quite some time. And also, just to mention this, most top 4 placings in the CDL era. Simp, aBeZy, Cellium still rocking it up. Shotzzy and iLLeY as well. Kind of crazy, right, that iLLeY is up here with Shotzzy at 18. I mean, it makes sense, they're team together, but still, like 18 out of all the events that have happened since the CDL has started, 18 of those they've got top 4. Simp, aBeZy, Cellium have also got top 4 at 20 events. It then goes down quite quickly down to Scump and Crimsix and Envoy and Priest is down there at 13. And also, just to finish out with, Mobrat reached out to me the other day with this sad news that his cat Riot had unfortunately passed away. I think she was 21, a great looking cat, and had a great life. And I don't usually get requests like this, but I just thought it was nice because Riot, of course, very well named cat, sharing the name, of course, with one of my favourite Search and Destroy maps of all time. Riot Search and Destroy here from Advanced Warfare for many years. I think certainly in this game, this is like the best Search and Destroy map that was really available. So great times, great memories, but unfortunately both are now laid to rest. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.